All right. Can everybody hear me out there? Ed, Catherine?
This is June. I can hear you.
Okay, very good. Thanks. All
So
right.
there's people waiting. I'm getting texts from people waiting to get in.
Okay, we're working on it.
Okay.
Well, at this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 4:06. And if you would stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jolie?
Can't hear her.
Oh, your mic.
I'm not on there.
And you
How's
have
that?
to pull it down close.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Jack?
Here.
I'm here. Dan?
Yep.
Jim?
Yep.
Jim?
June, yes.
Jenny?
Yes. Okay, changes to the agenda. Like to add under new business, Instagram account for communications. Insert road end report discussion. And insert in new business as well, septic support document. Anybody have any other agenda items to change? And we'll be voting on the Instagram. Any additions? Okay. All right. We'll open up for public comment at this time. Going.
Yep.
Gone. Is there somebody with hand up? I can't see it from here, you guys.
No, it doesn't look like anybody is.
Okay.
Just listening.
We're moving on to old business. The Communications Committee had put together a press release. And Sue, if you want to give 2 cents here at this time, otherwise we had voted on at the steering committee meeting. And if you want to give some updates from your meeting on Monday night, that would be great.
You're muted.
Muted.
It might make more sense muted. I believe at this point, the press release has already been sent out to a variety of different places, all of the ones that we did before, plus I think we've added a couple more. We had a rather in-depth discussion about Don's letters to the senator. It was pretty, Catherine was the one who really has the experience with this and experience with working with government officials. And I think we concluded that a letter, just a plain letter, even just introducing ourselves, was really a waste of effort. So what we have decided to do per Catherine's recommendation, who she works with someone who works with government people all the time, was to try to get some personal contacts and make personal interactions with our representatives. So we have, I think Catherine is crafting a letter to go out to all 50 of our HOHL members to see anybody who has a contact with any type of legislator and then follow up with that. And we will arm whoever goes with our little tri-fold brochure along with an insert that would update all of the accomplishments that we've already done. So the approach is going to be more on a personal level than just a letter that was felt that it would just, go in the circular bin and not really have any impact.
But what you had alluded to was maybe doing more educational pieces to keep them informed.
They get all of our, all of the legislatures are already receiving all of our ripple effects and committee connections. So if they're interested, it's all in their inbox. But on the personal level, I'm sure that they're not just gonna, there would obviously be some educational part to that on a one-to-one basis. Don, you were in that meeting. Is that pretty much how you feel about it too?
It sounds about right. Yeah, yeah.
We just changed direction a little bit, different
Yeah,
approach.
and putting more effort in trying to make these personal connections.
Got it. Jim,
Jeff Sable is on the.
I can't hear him.
just a second, Sue.
Jeff Zabel, I don't know if you know him or not. He's on the Science Committee and the Septic Committee, and he's currently, I believe, the chair of the Roscommon Republican Committee just recently. And he would be very interested in working with Ken Borton. He has good contacts with him. If you want to put that on your list.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any others who have warm contacts with those in influence?
We are
Anything else?
planning on sending a letter also to let us try to follow up on anybody and everybody.
Okay. Anything else in that regard, Sue?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The next topic is the Higgins Lake Watershed Management Plan. And Jim Osling had reached out to Teresa Salvata, Salvetta from Eagle, and we mentioned that in our previous meeting, and she had recommended to do an update so that it might increase our opportunity for funding. I've asked our members to take a look at the plan as well as those who were previous partners. And at this time, we're going to just kind of take a look at that list. And there were three versions of the watershed management plan, one in 2000, 2002, and one in 2007. So this is a list that had the partners from those. Jim Osling compiled as best he could read the signatures on one because it did not have their names and so on typed under it. So we have that information. And at this time, I'd like to open it up to our members to kind of give your 2 cents on who you recognize. We have discovered that Huron Pines was the lead on this project previously, and we're putting that at the top of the list to contact. And our hope is that we will try to compile individuals who previously worked on the project and see if we can reinvent possibly the watershed plan steering committee. Jim, I'll let you. Good. Okay. So if you take a minute and if anybody has knowledge of who might be in these positions at this time, because they're 20 some odd years ago. But we had Asabo River Center, Beaver Creek Township, Central Michigan District Health Department, Crawford County Road Commission, Crawford, Roscommon the Conservation District, Department of Michigan American Legion, Higgins Lake Committee, East Central Michigan Planning and Development Regional Commission, Gahagan Nature Preserve, Garish-Higgins School District, Garish Township, Headwaters Land Conservancy, Higgins Lake Advisory Committee, Higgins Lake Boat Club, Higgins Lake Civic Association, Higgins Lake Foundation, Higgins Lake Property Owners and Association, Higgins Lake Roscommon Chamber, Houghton Lake Area Tourism and Convention, Olton Lake School District, Huron Pines Resource Conservation and Development Area Council, Kirtland Community College, Lyon Township, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, Michigan Department of Natural Resources, Michigan State University Extension, Northeast Michigan Council of Governments, Ralph A. McMullen Conference Center, Roscommon County Commissioners, Roscommon County Community Foundation, Roscommon County Planning Commission, Roscommon County Road Commission, Schroeder Foundation, C North Sierra Club, Tip of the Mitt Watershed Council, United States Geological Survey, USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, Village of Roscommon. So anybody that's online, if you have contact information for any of those entities, if you could forward that to us, that would be great. Jim, any updates on your list?
Well, I was looking at all these lists that you sent out. I'm looking at the one from 2000, the plan from 2007. It has this agreement at the end. Did you read that?
It has a who?
An agreement at the end. It says Higgins Lake Watershed Partnership Agreement. And it's looking through that, and there's 30 people there. But on this one from, I'm not sure where this is from. This is the steering committee. The steering committee had 55 people on it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, and some of them are the same people.
But I noticed on this one, Jim, a lot of these people are deceased.
Oh, yeah.
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 Of course, this is 27 years. So.
But there's some names I do recognize as
Yeah.
still around as well,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they're involved in those organizations or not.
Right.
So I'm thinking we just need to get a small group together and get our heads together and figure out who all these people are
Right.
for all these organizations
Right.
first.
Yep.
And then try to form a steering committee again like they did before. And if you go to the Eagle site where the funding, if you read through some of this, they got some funding through 319. There's some information there on how to develop and put together a watershed plan and stuff. So I think we make that contact with Teresa. I assume is still, since Jim talked to her, is still active, so we can chat with her some more as well and make sure we're on the right path. Because there's a whole number of steps that you have to do to complete that plan, which I'm
Okay.
sure the plan as it is now is following those steps. But we need to make sure that plan does.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The old plan, if it doesn't follow the newest current,
The protocols.
yeah, then we need, but I think we need to get the steering committee together first.
Okay. Thoughts? Okay, so we'll collect everybody's input from these sheets, then check out the 2007 55 list,
Yeah.
and
So if we can send them to me, if you know of any contacts for these groups, email them to me, or
Okay.
text them to me or whatever, and I'll start gathering those.
can we put a deadline by the next meeting that we will individually go through these lists and try to fill in the blanks with the latest and greatest? And after this meeting, if we want to divide those lists up,
Mhm.
we could do that so that we're not, repeating contacts.
That'd probably be good.
I certainly would reach out to the foundation.
Yeah. I'm sure that it was listed in one of these lists, but it didn't come up on that one list that
I
I
understand,
read
I
from.
understand, but if you look at that signature page, it's all from 2000. It's not the 2007.
That's correct.
My understanding is that really was all done as one watershed plan. It took them that many years to get it done. That's my understanding. That might be incorrect, but that was my understanding.
Well, it's definitely a taxing project, so
Very.
yes. All right, so we're going to again try to, after this meeting, we'll just divide up the list, and then by next meeting have gotten as many
Sounds good.
contacts as possible and feed them to you.
Yep.
And then we'll start with like Huron Pines and see if we can't get a meeting with
Yep.
them and Eagle.
Yep.
Brad.
Just quickly, my nephew works for Huron Pines, And I reached out to him and just, was curious if they would be helpful. Because he said, well, we just finished one somewhere in Lake Huron, northern Lake Huron. He goes, they take a long time and they're pretty expensive for them to oversee it. And he's not sure they have the time or would be willing, but that you're going to have to reach out to them. So just thought I'd share that.
Okay. Some feedback there. Thanks, Brad. Any other feedback online? All right, very good. Next item on the agenda is steering committee collaboration. The subcommittees have asked us to try to participate on some of the in on some of the meetings, and we have for communications, June Tyson and myself will alternate there. We haven't assigned her anybody volunteered yet to sit in on funding. I did attend one of the meetings, and as you know, Ed is going to move his energy to IT, and Catherine Voigt is now the funding chair. So expect, changes there. Then on road and fertilizer, I know Don is on the committee. I sat in on the meeting this week, and that was very informative. Thank you. And Jolie is going to reach out to Brad in regard to science. And Jim Fisher and I will stay focused on the septic. And then when it comes to Garish Township work session and regular meetings, I just threw those on here with that hadn't been asked of us, but it probably would be good to, alternate individuals that are in attendance at some of those. So, thoughts? Anybody?
I didn't hear IT mentioned, but that doesn't surprise me.
I attended it. It was very
Yes, you did. That's
fascinating,
true.
Ed.
That's
Very,
true.
very.
That's true.
And no, seriously, each time when I turn around, there's new discoveries. For example, we're in looking at the mapping progression, how it would impact road ends and even, giving visuals, aerial visuals of where drainages are entering the lake and things like that. So there's some more things coming down there, but I know it's quite a ways off from um, being fully ready. All right, under new business, moving on. Um, committee project reports. I'm going to kind of change this up a little bit. In your stack, you have the monthly report there. And I want to make sure that if there's any discussion, don't lose anybody online. And you've had a chance to look at those. Any discussion about the monthly reports? Okay. If there's no discussion on those, I want to see if anybody will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Support.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And some copies of the report has been placed out there. The report will move on to the township board so that the communication committee has some more information to work with this month. Then moving back up to community project reports. The one item in your packet is a stack of about 5 documents. And these are sample reports that were put together by the Road In Committee. And there's 85 of these, Tim, with those 2 additional. Okay. And as you can see, they've compiled the various, things that they assessed. And Tim, would you like to say anything about this at this time?
You got it on. There you go. How about that?
Yes. Okay, so we've got the data collected from sort of all the point source areas. So originally it was just road ends. Now it's up the state park.
Does he have a mic? I can't hear him.
Yeah, we can't hear him.
Right up here now. Kind of like you're reading it.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you got it.
Oh, that.
If you rest it like right under your shoulder, you're never gonna lose it.
So, the county greens are added in. The state parks are added in. There were some actual road ends that were not on the previous list. I didn't work on, but they were added in as we did our count for today.
Is the mic turned on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this one up front working?
Yeah.
Okay, Bill.
We can't hear anything.
He's coming to the microphone. Just a second, please. Thanks for letting us know, though.
Yes, thank you so much for letting.
Zip. Do you hear him now?
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's original, I think the 1993 report had 80 locations. The next one had 82. That's lake-wide. And then we're going to be at 87. I don't know where certain areas were missed, but we wanted to make sure we added in the drains. There was an additional drain at Johnson Haven that was added in. That was built during that timeline. So we'll end up with 87 locations. Some of them won't have big production there or anything like that. So, but we still wanted to make sure they were added in on the list. The documents that you have should be the 5 or 6 biggest or the major locations where the most is going into the lake. And I think each one at the bottom, sort of bottom right-hand area, should tell you the rough tonnage per year from the last report. And we haven't updated any of those tonnage estimates yet, because some things have been done by the neighborhood associations or adjacent neighbors or whatever have been done to improve that number. So once we get that added in, we'll have the correct number on the final report. So if it says 7.7 tons, it may go to 6.2 tons or something like that. But well, we still are standing, I think, around probably lake-wide about 300 tons a year going into the lake. So we still have a lot of work to do, I think, if we can get that number down, but we want you to know where they are and where's the most important ones. So you'll see at the bottom, it says, what should we do kind of a thing. So as we went around each one of these road ends or these point source areas, we said, what could we do to get that number down? A lot of that has to do with what we think is causing the problem. So if it's an erosion problem, like on the lakeside, the shoreline, it's probably going to say riprap, because that's the easiest way to dissipate the wave action against the shore, the raw shore. And there may already be riprap there. Some of it may be washed away by now. Some of it may be buried by sand by now. And some may just need additional riprap. We're also talking about the amount of traffic at those road ends and what kind of traffic that is, because sometimes it's just a pedestrian traffic. And we may want to put a stairway in because even when people are just walking back and forth, they create that trail and then the vegetation goes away. And so you can go back and try to replant grass every year. Or it's probably easier just to put a set of stairs in or a short ramp, a hardened surface ramp. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And then our next step is probably going to be to set up a meeting with the road commission. They're still reeling from the flooding and the trees, and they're still trying to catch up on that work. But I think I can get a meeting with their manager fairly soon. And then we'll decide what our next step is, whether they want to be the ones that come out and come up with a plan, or if they want us to come and present them the plan for that road end, and then sit down and talk about what that cost is going to be and who's going to cover that cost. So, but that's probably the next logical step, is to sit down with the road commission. We have all the Lion ones done as well. So altogether there's 87. I think there's 36 or 37 in Garish, 50 on the other side of the lake. So once we get the Garish stuff set aside and have a plan for that, we'll meet up with them again and say, we have all the Lion stuff now. What would you like to do? And I'd like to go over and make some kind of a presentation to the Lion Township Board. Kevin, their treasurer, I think he's the treasurer, is on our committee now. So he's invited us to come over whenever we want to sit down and talk to the rest of the board about what we've come up with on their side of the lake. But we'll have a good summary for them and meet with them fairly soon, see what their feelings are. And I think that's about all I really wanted to get over, unless you have questions about what you see on some of the reports. And some of you may have not ever been on one of these properties, but
Said you haven't been able to determine, other than the tonnage, it was sand or stone. There any chemical, there's no way to tell on that, is there? Or
I think our plan is to maybe work with Brad's committee and come up with, I guess it's for them to tell us more than anything about what can be done. But I think what we want to do is say that, okay, there's 7 big producers, and we would like to take a water sample at the end of each one of those roads, especially right now, just to see what's in the water, near shore water right now. And then the next time we see a big rain event coming, we'd like to have one person standing at the end of each one of those roads to pull another sample of the lake water with that water rushing down. And then we can figure out what's washing down, especially this time of year. People are going to start coming up, and whether we tell them to use fertilizer or not, they may be using fertilizer. They may have phosphorus, maybe not. We don't know. There may be other things that are washing out of their yards, insecticides and who knows what. But during the big rain events, a lot of these roads collect the water from the yards, and then it point sources it into basically a ravine along the edge of the road, runs all the way down, carrying the sand and silt with it, and then eventually ends up in the lake.
fertilizer, maybe a long way.
Yes, yeah, it can be. Yeah, one of the things that the sheet tends to tell you is what's the slope of the road and how far back that is, because people talk about the road end and they probably talk about the last 50 feet, but a road end consists of stuff 500-600 feet upstream, especially at an 8 or 9% fall. It's carrying water from the next major crossroad and across that crossroad and up the hill some more. And so the actual road end effect of the erosion and the amount of water that's carrying, it's
People hurt, be good example.
yes,
of that,
yeah.
And McKinsey down
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And you'll see the McKinsey's a long one. Lincoln, I think, is the first one on the list.
Yep.
If you've ever crested the hill onto Lincoln and seen how far and how long that slope is, and then it does nothing but widen out at the end, and then you have a lot of circular traffic at the bottom for whatever reason, and then that churns up the sand and gravel. And so even a short rain is going to push some stuff into the lake, which is why I think it's one of the bigger suppliers of.
I was wondering if the high school group that I can't recall now who spearheads at a Raven and Teacher that they do water samples. I'd have to
samples before.
Take it back up. I'd be curious if they had information that we could
Yeah.
utilize at least.
We just want to make sure everybody pulls the same sample from the same area the same
Right.
way. So we don't have to do it again.
But whether they would
So,
have like
yeah.
winter runoff versus
Yeah.
the spring and summer fertilizer,
Oh,
different
maybe.
times of the year that, but yes, hand up. Ed was first. Ed, please. I'm sorry.
So, Tim, are you looking at any private drains into the lake at all? Like, I know there's a huge one on Magnolia. Or are you strictly going at public road ends or maybe even association road ends?
The Magnolia drain is actually a public drain. It's batten drain. It serves to let the water come from behind what used to be Old Point Marina. I don't know what's called.
Yeah, Old Point Comfort, right.
So the
Exactly.
swamp or area behind it, with the wetlands that was behind it, that was drained across the property down to 200, and then that's where you pick up the batten drain. So it's several ditches that run
Yep.
along
Yes.
Magnolia that all run to one place. And then that all runs out to the lake. And that's actually a picture I took yesterday where the water in front of that drain is like brown, red.
You can
It's
see
not
it
good.
from a satellite photo.
Yeah, it's not good. There's plumes, and we know that there's plumes there, and even at the Kennedy drain, which isn't normally a flowing drain, even at the end of that during a big rain, you'll get a lot of brown water running out into a big plume in front of that one. Williams is another one that catches an awful lot of water from the neighborhood all the way up to 200 through the underground storm systems that are up there, and that lets go down at Williams. That's the County Road 200 drain. So yeah, there are half dozen county drains roughly that are all in the report now. Johnson Haven was the one that was created most recently. That runs down to the end of Newman and has a little bit more sophisticated settlement device at the end of it. Most of the other ones don't have anything like that.
Do we have anything on the state parks?
Most of what we had at the state parks was from the previous studies, and they basically said, yeah, there's a launch site and they're not producing anything.
So
But I don't believe that. I know you don't believe that.
Yeah.
But the old reports all said, I think 0.0 tons because they were measuring tons, not anything else. But when you have several hundreds or thousands of feet of open beach with wave action coming and going, something's happening. And then, of course, there are the launch sites too, with a lot of boats coming in and out and open shoreline on either side of the boat launches as well. So,
okay,
but the boat launches usually come up as 0 unless they're attached to like Town Line or Magnolia might show something that's a private launch site there. I don't think that was part of it. I don't think we added that in. So we do have Magnolia.
very good. As far as your, efforts going forward, you're going to be contacting the road commission.
I think
And-
that's the next step is we want to come
Okay.
sit with them and show them what we've gathered.
And
Give them
then
a chance to look
determine
at it.
who, what, when, and where will help, with upkeep or
Yeah. That's what we want to sort of show them is that here's the list of the road ends that we're concerned about right off the top of our heads, just in garish, and what we would like to see done at those road ends. And a lot of that is maintenance. It's just maintenance of what was done previously under the 319 grants or whatever, however it came to happen. What can we do to make sure that it's working still? If it's not, how do we get it back working the way it was supposed to? Because the worst thing could be that we might go the wrong way. We might have gone from 600 tons down to 300 tons and now back up to 400. We don't know until we get out there and actually do the calculations at each one of the road ends and then find out what they can or are willing to do. And then, of course, how much money is it going to take? And are they willing to pay the freight, or do they want some kind of matching money? Or would they like to see materials provided, or would they like to see local labor to help in the process? And what are they willing to let us do if
Right.
they're not going to do it? What are they willing to let us do in the right of way? On our own, I guess,
Yeah.
which
And
is pretty limited usually.
if in this process, the road commission does say that they will not address certain treatments or whatever, and your committee finds projects that will need funding, please get a hold of Catherine and
Yes,
give her the
for sure.
earliest notification so that she can start looking for resources
Yeah.
that are evidence-based and
Yep.
uh,
Yeah, we can do that for sure. We've already met with the foundation early on and sort of went over that same process about maybe there's going to be some match money required to do some of this work. Several of the neighborhood associations have taken it upon themselves with their labor and money to fix some of these road ends. They may need more additional repairs, but I think we'll get ahead of the game pretty fast, I think, once people realize that we're doing and what we're doing and why we're doing it.
any other thoughts by anyone in regard to road
My
ends?
hand, my
Who's
hands
still
are up.
got her hand up?
Oh, Sue.
I
Sorry.
do. The communications committee would very much like to do an in-depth ripple effect on the road ends. Is there anything written, or are you willing to sit down with maybe Catherine and develop an update on where you're at so people can know what's going on?
Yeah, certainly I can meet with them anytime.
Okay, and is there any written documents yet
Well,
that are,
I don't know if they're publishable, but we have documents. We have
Are
Okay.
you
documents.
referring to these or?
Yeah, we have data sheets. We have work papers as they are right now. I don't know if you'd want to
Okay.
send
I
them
guess
out.
I haven't had a chance to look at this monthly update. Did you guys submit anything for this monthly update?
No, because we were waiting for Tuesday's meeting and then half the committee was out of the country and the other half was
Okay.
too liquored
All
up. No,
right.
I shouldn't say that. So,
Well, somebody from communications will be getting in touch with you to try to
yeah,
put
sounds good.
together something. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, that would be a great idea. I learned a lot at the committee meeting, so uh,
Okay.
you've got a lot to share.
All
Very
right.
good.
Yep.
Any other thoughts for Tim at this time? Brad?
Good luck. Well, like this is what I hear.
Okay, is it working?
I could hear it.
Can Zoom hear
We cannot hear you.
Oh,
Nothing.
nothing is bring that.
it? I guess you get to move it.
Jim, would you share so that those two, please?
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
This is for Tim and the whole steering committee. Tim and I talked briefly after your last meeting about the concept of working with the science committee to do testing at the road ends with big rains, and I was giving it some thought, and I would like to get someone from the science committee to work with you on it. But my original thought is it's going to be quite a few tests that Raven would have to do, and I think we should probably sit down and come up with an overall study plan, what we want to do, what we want to test, come up with kind of how many tests we're going to have and ultimately what that's going to cost, and come up with an overall plan. And then so we can work together, and then we'll have to figure out how much money it is and where we can get the money. But I think the testing's not going to be cheap. We're doing 7 or 8 road ends, doing multiple times. It's going to be a lot of tests. So it's going to be a few bucks.
Besides the tonnage that of
Right.
silt going in and so on, that was probably more critical is the testing probably.
Yeah.
Um, so
So we can
good
work
idea.
together and come back hopefully pretty soon with a plan to,
Yeah.
to present to you guys.
Yeah,
Excellent.
we have people on the committee, our committee, that wouldn't mind doing it.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that the worst road ends are being covered and that we have somebody standing at each one, because I don't think you can rely on Mother Nature to rain long enough for you to get your test, get in your car, drive to the next one, which could be on the other, around the other side of the Cape
Okay.
and get another test done before it stops raining, where you're actually getting the fresh water running down the lake. So I think we need, if we're going to do 7 of them, or maybe it's 5, I don't know, maybe we pick the 5 biggest producers and we have 5 people ready on a notice, a couple minutes notice to get out there and jump in the water and pull the sample. So,
Okay.
but
No pressure science and road ends. Um, how soon might we be able to work initial meeting and then, from there, obviously it'll take some time to figure out, but,
well, I think we can get together with somebody, whoever Brad would like to lead their charge on the science, and we can get together with them
okay.
and say, okay, these are the locations we want to test. And then what's the protocol for testing going to be, so. No,
Okay.
it's fairly simple.
Your next meeting is this,
Saturday? That's something.
is it second Thursday or?
Yes, we usually meet on the first and third or second, fourth. I can't remember now.
Where I'm going with this is that, and then your next meeting and so on, our next meeting will be May 19th. I won't be here, so I'm looking for coverage. But if between now and the next steering committee meeting, could we,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that'd be awesome.
yeah. I think I can pull it up. Tell you, we tried to make our meeting so that we would be in advance, early enough in advance, so that I would have time to create the monthly report and get it to you by your monthly meeting. So if it was the 18th, Tuesdays.
It's Tuesdays, third Tuesday.
So we probably are meeting on the second Thursday.
Okay.
And then that gives us a chance to do our stuff. I can write up the report and get it to you for your meetings.
Okay. What in general, we've kind of established is that the monthly reports are due by the end of the month.
Okay.
And so then I can compile, like this time we had this work session, so I
Okay.
quickly put them together and so that we can move them onto the board and
And I can always give you, it would be the previous month's report that
Sure.
you're getting here. I can also give you an update from our meeting that we just held, if anything came up. And then we still are starting to work on the fertilizer stuff as well.
all right.
We're looking at other townships, cities, counties that have fertilizer ordinances and looking to see which ones are probably pushed forward by counties or townships that have a lot of water, which is what we would like to track with. What did they do, knowing that they have a lot of lakes and streams? Is that what pushed them towards having an ordinance? But we'll get together with that too and get that started too.
Okay, so you're getting on fertilizer
Yes,
next
yes.
as well as the road end.
Yeah, we had somebody do a search of all the other ones that we thought were relevant. And that's what we were going to talk about, but it'll be in May before we talk about that. So
Very good. Anything else while Tim's up here? Thank you. So going back to the agenda item, committee project reports.
I think you had one more up here and Jim's got.
Oh, is there
Yeah.
who?
Did you have something, Jim?
No. Okay. Somebody with hand up?
I thought somebody in there.
No. Okay.
Did.
Subcommittees, if you have projects that you're thinking about, I know that Catherine will be reaching out to you. But anyways, the sooner that we can inform her and other local resources, we've talked about the Hicks Lake Foundation and so on, but if we have a crack that needs to be filled, Catherine would love to hear from you. Then, then under that same discussion item, Brad had asked us a question as to how, am I not? You, can you hear me? So Brad, if you wouldn't mind coming up and posing your question so that everybody can hear it from you, and then we'll go on from there.
Yes, at your last meeting, I raised the question to you about how would you like us to provide you information as we're moving forward with the science committee? Because what we're doing right now is we're working in multiple subcommittees. Subcommittees are going to present material to our entire science committee, and again, it gets vetted before it comes to you. Do you want, my question is, and even some of our work, it's getting done in pieces. Like, for example, we have a nearshore committee that's looking at the quality of the water in the shallows areas of the lake, and we might be looking at a few different contaminants or nutrients loads in those areas. But we have a much longer list of stuff we're looking at. So we might be looking at several of these pieces at one time, and then we'll go on. Do you want us to give it to you at that point, or do you want the entire nearshore committee to have the report ready to go before you see it? Or do you want even our whole science committee ready to go before you see it? I don't know on what pace and in what amounts you would like this stuff presented to you.
Personally, I would love to hear the initial report that are coming out of your subcommittees, just so I get it's just like a meeting with Tim the other day. It was, refreshing to hear some of the information that's going on out there directly from them.
Mhm.
And then it gives me I like to know the little picture and the big picture. And so then from your subcommittee, then where you're taking it as far as the science committee, it just would be helpful to me to have a better understanding what's happening at this level, and then where it might go from there to
Okay.
help guide.
So
I
what,
agree. I was just going to say, I agree. I think in smaller bites as you're progressing makes it more digestible. And then, not to add a burden to you, but just, a summary as you move along, I think would be super helpful.
I also think from the public's perspective that we're seeing progress.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, if we wait till the very final end to produce this monstrous report, somebody's going to look at it and say, I can't read through all this stuff. What did you guys do?
Mhm.
Instead of seeing, the public, and again, I'm thinking our constituents
Mhm.
seeing that something is being done at all times,
Mhm.
as opposed to, oh, you just sat around and did nothing, and then produce this report at the very end.
For
Okay.
example, the other day when Ed was going through the progress in the mapping, um, uh, it was evident that it could be applicable to road ends and so on. And then Catherine said, that could be great information for funding sources. So getting those smaller bites may, bring about some other connections that would be very helpful, even though I might not know what the next step should be as far as eradicating or whatever, but at least
Yeah, I think there's going to be probably some recommendations with each subcommittee, but those could change as we get the entire report too, right? I mean, the list of general recommendations could change, but I mean, I think we'll probably will this month have a report ready to go, I think, on one of the subcommittees. It's aquatic invasive species, I think is close. I think the recreational usage committee is getting close. So we'll be able to start giving you reports. Some of them are going to be at the end of the summer, some are going to be coming pretty soon. So I'm happy to do it that way. In the end, though, I do think we are going to have a final report too.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Right.
Where we piece it all together and
Agree.
kind of paint a big picture of what does this all mean in conjunction with one another. But that's helpful to me then to how you wanna go.
And it might end up, like you said, these small pieces might end up ringing somebody else's bell,
Mhm.
on one of the other committees.
Okay.
And right now, reports, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, for the various committees are being funneled through Zotero.
hmm
Okay, so the studies that you're utilizing are there. Will the reports go in there as well? Where are they going to, where's the repository for as things progress?
Yeah, we have files for all of that, right, Ed? We have all the
Well, so they can go out, we can create a folder, but right now we have individual folders for each main subcommittee. What we likely should do is either have each subcommittee create a report folder under their committee, or we can create a main report folder and then create a report folder for each subcommittee under that main folder. I guess the latter is probably preferable, but as long as we can have a report folder for each subcommittee that people can go look at. But Zotero really is not the appropriate place for that to get done.
Okay. There was a person with a hand up.
That was me.
That was
But
it.
go ahead, Sue. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I want to emphasize what Brad said, that some of these interim reports may or may not have some conclusions, but as they get further down the road, some of those, I'll say, statements or observations may change. And I just want to make sure that anything we put forward, we know goes public. So if there's anything that we think is going to not stay as fact, we need to be careful with it.
Got it. Good point.
And along those lines, Jenny, you had asked me to prepare a document of the map. I would like to, before I give that back to the steering committee, I'd like to review that with communications. Of what goes public.
Very good.
And from that, I'll just say that we want guidance from the septic committee.
They're talking about the density map.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm
so
looking at Jim.
From
Right.
that standpoint, Stu, I was not requested to put anything out as far as evaluation of septics. It was simply the density map.
Yeah.
So
That's
Okay. Are we going to talk about that more once we get to septic?
your release.
We can't hear anybody talking. No.
no,
Oh. Wonder why, that's not there. I wonder if that's why. If Sotero, oh, there we go. If Sotero is not the place where it should be, where should it be for these reports for the science committee then?
well, Zotero is a research
Oh,
tool,
okay.
and at the
Well, put-
point at the point that a document or a report becomes a formal study that is going to be published for peer review, then Zotero would absolutely be the proper place. But not before then. I mean, unless we're going to be, I don't know. That's a science committee. That's not my decision. That's a science committee decision.
When
I
you
don't
were
think-
talking earlier about files, so weren't you talking about in Nextcloud?
Yes, next.
Yes, I was.
Next
Absolutely.
cloud.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think
Absolutely.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, their files in Nextcloud. Sometimes I.
I assumed that.
Material. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I assumed that. I'm sorry.
And I do want to talk a little bit until, I mean, it's a draft until you guys say it's good to go, right? So when we're sending it to you, this is what we're thinking, but I don't think, probably doesn't need to be public until you guys have cleared it, vetted it, whatever you need to do. I mean, they're going to be introduced at the meetings, but if people are going to see before that, you need to know it's a working draft.
Oh,
Anyway.
that one doesn't work.
Jim, do you want to kind of speak to that as far as what what is the township's intention? If a draft document is presented to the steering committee, then it becomes public at that point?
Yeah, this steering committee is a immediate body of the township board, and it's subject to um, FOIA requests and, notice to the public. So what you decide here goes to the public, or can go to the public if, with the FOIA request. The work that Brad's committee is doing, or all the subcommittees are doing, I've always contended, and I think the board, those,
Your mic
I know,
just died.
I know, that those have, those, how about now? That those, the work that the subcommittees are doing is work in progress. And a certain amount of that, I suppose, the public, and I can see their point, needs to know that you're actually doing something. What are they getting for their money that we're not spending? But we we do have the science committee, I guess I talked to, has spent a tremendous amount of work. We had, I don't know, 6 or 7 versions of an ordinance before we landed on one that we handed over to you. We felt it was that our obligation to hand over a septic ordinance had met that threshold. We handed it over. Now it becomes public if people were to FOIA it, and they can do that today. You forwarded that on to the township board. The township clerk has got it. We forwarded to the planning commission. People it could be FOIA'd over there. So, but all the work that Tim's doing for these data sheets, that's all work in progress. It's not something that, I suppose somebody's going to have to test that to see where that really lies. But as far as I'm concerned, and I think as far as the board's concerned, that's all work in progress. That's stuff that we're working on every day. And, I'm not going to, have somebody come over and sit down on my computer and see what all I've been working on. That's not
Right.
the intent of it. So, I've probably got off your topic, I
Well,
suppose.
so what I think I'm hearing is that, like with the septic ordinance, Brad, we would just invite one of us to attend when one of your subcommittees is presenting their, document and until it becomes something that you're going to pass on to us at large, then that's how we would want to operate.
I think I'd like to expand. I was along the same line, but I was going to bring up when you were talking about, Brad was talking about when, what documents do they get out to the public or whatever. And I was talking with Fred the other day, Fred Swinehart, and he is on the science committee, but he isn't at these meetings often. And his question was kind of like, where's the group, where's the load of information that we've been working on over all this time, and what is it that the people can see, and what do we, just a question about how we're doing it. And I suggested maybe the steering committee, consider creating a blue binder that's got everything that it's not the work in progress so much, but it would have a copy of the septic ordinance. It would have a copy of initial reports that the steering committee had done. It would have the draft copies that we want to release of the map that Ed's been working on. And somebody could come in and say, what's this Health of Higgins Lake project all about and what are you doing? And you could slide them the binder, never leave here. And if they want to FOIA information into it, I guess that would be FOIA-able, I suppose, but you'd have to take this step from the subcommittees and to this steering committee and then up in this binder and becoming not a working, but an archive of the work that's been going on. And I pictured it would have, an introductory piece that gave the history of how we got started and the committees that formed. And then every time somebody got to a point where it was time to update the binder with a new version of the septic ordinance or whatever it is. The old one would, somebody would have to maintain that and they'd have to pull that out, put the new one in and away you go. And, that it continues to collect. I don't think it should turn into, a file cabinet full of archive,
Right.
but it would
User-friendly.
be, user friendly, something that, maybe it's maybe even the communications committee could have a common logo that got punched on all of the tabs or something. So it looked like it was, it's a document that we've put together that this is the summary of what we've been working on for this time. And it might take questions off from your desk too, that if people say, what have you been doing? You can refer them to the binder instead of having to go back to, stuff that's been turned in and say, well, what was that somebody turned in 2 weeks ago? And maybe I could, maybe that's the kind of,
Yeah.
it might make it easier to disseminate the information.
Well, and communications committee has done a fabulous job with their ripple effect and the committee reflections. And so having those documents in there, I mean,
Sure, and the communications committee has represented the septic committee very well in the stuff that they've published. And but each of the reports, all the published stuff that they have done, that would all be a part of this as well. So, it'd just be a place to keep each of those newsletters and whatever. But
I know that they're being posted on the website as well. Correct,
Yeah.
Sue?
Yes.
Okay. And somebody had their hand up. I don't know who.
I do.
Okay.
So I wanted to take the context of all of this a little bit. So am I understanding that once something gets submitted to the steering committee, that all of the work underneath the product work is FOIA-able? Is that correct? So in other words, all the iterations that science committee went through to come up with their conclusions?
no,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well,
I'll speak to the septic committee. We submitted version 6.2, but we had versions 2 and 3 and 5 that we all worked on that never were submitted. They were all working documents that the septic committee worked on our way to version 6.2. That's the one that was submitted to the steering committee, and that's the one that got past the work in progress and ended up as FOIA-able.
So where I'm going with this is if someone wants to see all the source code for the map and the evaluation and everything else and it needs to explain that, are we on the hook to explain how all that works?
Not in my mind, we're not.
Okay.
No.
Jim,
I mean, if somebody came in and said, I want to see the first versions of your Excel sheet from a year ago, good luck. I mean, it's developed into a document that I would be happy to show as, a final product, sections of it as a final product. So it could be manageable. And then if somebody really had a genuine interest in wanting to look at more of it, then on something that's, I'll just use this Excel sheet or the SQL database. If somebody has a real interest and a real question about it, and the easiest way to answer those questions is to sit down with them and go through it, then, maybe that's a solution. As opposed to printing, I don't know, I think I ran a print report and it was 200
Oh,
pages
yeah,
or something like that.
no,
Nobody, you
I've
can't understand where it goes anyway. So
I've got over
So,
40,000 lines of code now. So,
yeah,
so
but yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Sue.
Jim, are you suggesting that like your version 1, 2, and 3 and whatever of your septic ordinance would be in this book?
No, version
Okay.
6.2.
And that's the
Period.
only one.
Yep.
Yeah.
The latest version. Yeah.
And
And
I
if
guess the same
6.2
thing.
turns into 7, then that's the one that's in there and 6.2 gets pulled out.
So
All right, well then I guess I would say that if that's ready to go public, it should be on the website
Yeah.
and not in
I
a
was,
book in the township hall. And I guess my position would be that everything that would be in the book that's public should be on the website, and then there would be no need for the book.
well, about the time I finished that spiel, I'm going, well, why isn't it just on, we just use your website instead of this book? So maybe that's a better answer, Sue.
I think I'm going to guess what Fred was asking, but I mean, there's a wealth of information in Zotero, and that might have been more what he was asking. Where is all that information?
Yeah,
I
Fred's
don't,
not hooked up. Fred's not hooked up on Zotero yet.
yeah, he's
So,
not.
Well, very few people are that are going to want the information. The general public can't get to Zotero, and
well, maybe
um,
we need to solve that, or do we? I don't know.
uh,
I guess
I
I'm
don't
going to
think so.
go
That's a
back to
research
that.
tool that that science committee is using. I don't see that as unless
Okay.
unless we're legally bound somehow to do it, and that happens. In the meantime, I don't see where we make that available. That's a research tool.
Trust me, I'm not excited about that last statement I made. So, yeah, I think all of this applies to the the subcommittees under science subcommittee as well. I mean, when I think about the things that, that recreation did and how we came up with some of those conclusions, if that has to be part of that binder, um, yeah.
no,
No,
no.
And I'm going to go with, I've got nothing, there's been nothing given to, I don't think the steering committee, because I haven't seen anything from this recreation committee. Of course, that's under the science, so it's coming
Right,
soon.
right, right. It hasn't
Right.
gone
Okay.
through, it
So
hasn't filtered up
it
yet.
has, right. So anything that's ready to go, we can put on the website. I guess at one point we talked about the septic ordinance and then thought it was decided weren't ready to put it up yet.
Well, it's been made public because it has gone through us, it has gone to the board and now to the planning commission. So it really is at the point where it could be.
All right. We'll get it up.
But
We'll
but
Yeah,
that
it should be.
but
It should be.
but we
Yeah.
would need to make sure there's a complete understanding, some kind of description stating that this is a draft document and that the planning commission is the ones that will be,
Mhm.
developing the actual ordinance. That's the legal.
and I
That's
think
what
the
watermarks
exact.
are for.
I
That's what
think
watermarks are for.
it's got
Yep.
that one has
Understood.
preliminary drafts plastered all over it, and it should have that stuff that goes in there that's not ready for final approvals. It should be marked that way, and I think maybe that there's an executive summary in front of the septic ordinance that kind of goes through some history and how we got to this point and explains a little bit. You read through that, you get an idea, and then you see then with that information that this has been sent to, on up through the proper channels and it's work in progress. It's still being worked on, but people want to know what's in it. What are you guys working on? What are you talking about? And at that point, that's why we were careful to not send, multiple draft after draft after draft to you, so all those drafts get made public. Let us get our work done to the point where now we've got a product that we want to have you work on. And that's when we decided to send 6.2 up to the steering committee.
Okay, so
Is 6.2 in Nextcloud?
I'm guessing it should be, but like a bunch of my stuff, it's not like it. Yes, it should be, but I can't guarantee it is.
All right. I'll need a copy of it.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll use the septic ordinance as our guiding method until it gets to your level, Brad. You know, from your subgroups, vetting it at the main science committee, then invite us in, one of us in to review. And, you know, we can come into the subgroup, you know, at anytime. But as far as the actual progression of that report, until it goes through you, your main group, then on to us. But invite us to participate along the way.
Well, there's a difference between like an ordinance, this is what we've been working on to produce, and a progress report telling us what your guys are doing. It's not,
Yeah.
there's a difference between the data you're going to present and the actions that you're working on to create that data or to analyze that data. Yeah, exactly. I don't think, I think it's important that we present, and I think that's appropriate to be public, the work that's being done, not necessarily the conclusions that are being made or even the data that's being analyzed, but to say, this is what we're working on, and we are making progress along these lines, or something, just to say that there's progress being made.
So educate us as time goes on.
Exactly. I mean, we don't want to see your ordinance, but we want to know the kinds of things that you're looking at or that you're progressing along. Okay. And again, I'm using the septic ordinance.
Yeah, sure.
You guys came up with your list of
Attributes. Yep.
that you wanted to look at. That would have been great to see. Not necessarily see that, but to say, this is what we've done.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to proceed to create a septic ordinance.
Well, it may not have happened that way, but that's kind of what I've had in mind in my monthly report.
Okay.
I go back and look at my calendar and look at my emails and say, here's what we did over the last month. And the things that are, that keep you informed are what I try to get into that report. Then you see that. And then that's my only report to the steering committee, each month. Now, as we go along and we finished up this piece of work that was the septic ordinance, now we said, okay, here's the accumulation of the work we've been doing for the last 6-8 months, and handed it over to you. You reviewed it. And at that point, because you're a entity of the township board, now it takes that next step.
Exactly.
Brad, I'm not speaking for Brad, and he's got a huge group of people to bring all these different components together, but it might be that there's just an outline that says, here's the committees and here's where they stand, here's where they're working on. And that's the thing that, would end up in the blue binder or on the web or something that showed progress. And then as any one of those fleshed out to where it had some kind of even a draft document that was now completed and we're moving on to the next phase, then that's what ends up in for public consumption.
Online, Sue?
Yeah, I guess, Don, I'd like to sit down and talk with you because I think that's exactly what we're doing with our committee reflections. We go through every committee chairperson's report on what progress they've made, and we try to pick what are the most valuable highlights, and we publish it every month around the first of the month from the previous month after you guys have approved it, saying what each committee has been willing has brought forth. Maybe we should sit down and look at those reports and look at what we're picking. Maybe we're not picking the right stuff. I'm more than willing to do it differently. And then each month we've picked a committee and we've gone a deep dive into it to try to find out more details than what's just in the report. Some committees have had more to give us than others. So I don't know, maybe you and I should talk directly to figure out how we can do this better if it's not being effective.
Well, this is just one idea, just was my perception. That's all. Certainly, I just throwing it out there you know, for consideration, but, that reflections is a great, great tool. I mean, and it gets out to a lot of people and maybe that's exactly where we should, when people have a question, say, there's where you get your answers. List, what are
Yes.
the reflections? That's where it is every month. And here's the binder. Here's all of them in the past. Read through the whole thing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's exactly the answer is that, that's, you don't need to have a whole bunch of other things that take a bunch of care and feeding when the reflections are doing it every month and are doing a great job of it. So
I agree.
maybe I'll just,
And maybe that's another thing that I can do when we're sending out our agendas is reconnect those two newsletters to our agendas so that we're keeping that in front of our people. Because as you know, the last week or so, I have been running to try to read and to try to respond, and sometimes I'm not hitting the mark very well. So, um, you know, keep reminding us to make use of the good tools that are already in our hands. So,
Okay.
Sue, let's talk tomorrow or first of the week.
but I agree, Sue, that the newsletters plus the monthly reports, I think you guys are doing an excellent job of trying to make sure we are well informed, and yet um, with our attendance at some of these subcommittees, it's proven helpful to me anyways to have that firsthand um, view. So we'll try as well as reading those, try to attend as well as reading those. Any other comments in this regard? Brad, do you think we've, sure.
So our committees are, it's so broad and so large, it's a little bit different. So back in the fall, and this was shared with you back then, we have what every subcommittee is doing, the list of questions and things we're trying to solve. So we have that. I mean, that's been given, and so we've been spending pretty much since that time all winter and now into the spring. Our committees are busy working, and we just don't have we're going to start having some subcommittees ready to go with reports. They're just been busy working. So we do have that outline. If people want to see what we're doing, that's been done since the fall.
Okay.
That's the summary we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's good.
That'd be good to
Sure.
forward, and we'll fan it back out and revisit it.
I'll,
Good
I'll
idea.
make one more comment, Jenny.
Sure.
We do that committee reflection because we take the highlights and make it a quick read for somebody, but the full committee reports are posted on the website
Very good.
every month.
Okay. So to summarize, in regard to science, we're going to try to intermittently attend some of your subcommittee meetings to find out what's going on. When they're getting close to their draft product, then call us in to sit in and see that. One of us will be in attendance, and then you're going to vet it at the main science committee, and until it is ready to bring to us, then it stays in draft format. All right. Kind of along those lines, calendars and timelines. I know that we kind of bounced around some ideas within your subgroups and overall with kind of like a common calendar idea, and then the timelines for the various projects that are out there whether it be road commission or this ordinance or the science, studies, um, whatever, trying to reel in that information. When, like with what I was referring to before, is I tried to publish the meeting dates and did a kind of a poor job because I either didn't read or I didn't get the update or whatever. So trying to find a more efficient way to collect information. And one of those areas is calendars, another area is timeline. And I know, Ed, you had some ideas, so I was wondering if you had come up with any others at this.
No, not really. I mean, I just find it would be useful for at least the sub chairs to have um, at least a partial idea of when normal meetings are going to happen. I know that, you can't have everything scheduled, but for instance, I never knew when a septic meeting was going to be until I was on the septic committee or I thought to ask Jim. That was never published anywhere.
We're supposed to be including those in our monthly reports. When you submit them to me, when I compile them, I put, that maybe that particular date, but the times I haven't been putting in on our master report because things change. And then it goes on to the township board and trying to not have, misinformation going on. But is there a way to create a common calendar within the HOHL? So, like you had posted yours via the Outlook calendar, Ed, and that's what sparked my interest, but not everybody has access to the HOHL email. And I didn't know if Nextcloud had a feature, and if we're all trained in Nextcloud, could there be a common calendar there? Or does anybody else have any other ideas like Monday.com? Um,
Well, I can certainly do some investigation. I'm not aware of anything that's built into Nextcloud, but I'm sure that there's software that can do this. And I wasn't talking about anything necessarily that would go external to the public. I was talking about just for information amongst ourselves.
right, correct. And
Um,
and so if Nextcloud could accomplish that,
well,
but
there's
a
certainly a
common,
way, even if nothing else, we could have a calendar document for the month on Nextcloud that would have all the meetings and people could just look at that. And, I mean, this doesn't need to get overly complex.
no, that's exactly what I don't want.
No, I understand. So, uh,
So a
uh,
common calendar and hopefully it
and
would be
it's, and
allow us to
it's,
do timelines on it for projects that
well, that's a different animal. Now you're talking about Microsoft Project or something of that nature.
no, I'm just talking about the
Um,
date that science is going to have an invasive species XYZ report. Their draft copy is going to be finished by June 22nd. They're hopefully going to have the next step done by July 22nd, so that we can kind of get a visual.
So in that case, we would need two calendars. You would have to have one calendar for meetings and one calendar for deliverables. At least that's my first thought on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a way to um, consolidate our efforts and make it user friendly.
This sounds like a communications problem to me.
Oh, always. Always is a communications problem. We can, I mean, we can put some, I don't know. Let me put some thought in it.
Okay.
Ed and
Yeah,
I'll talk.
exactly. Exactly. You and I can put our heads together soon,
Ed
come
and
up with
I'll talk.
something.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Jen, you're talking about calendar for us more than for the public, right?
Correct. No, HOHL.
Yeah.
When
They understand that.
subcommittees, they have their meeting dates, then if it changes, then it gets changed on the common calendar. We all know, the subcommittee knows. So just a better communication, way of communicating our important type events.
This would be really simple if everybody used Nextcloud.
If it has a calendar feature, that would be,
Well, it's
We
not a
could-
calendar feature. It's just, I'm
No, we
talking
can
about
just-
storing a
we can
Word
just
document.
populate. Yeah, we can just populate the calendar. But people would have to be willing to go into Nextcloud to look at it.
okay.
It's what we're talking about here is not overly complex. It really isn't.
Okay,
No.
well, let you two get together and come back with some ideas. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Anybody else?
Sounds good.
Okay. We already went through the monthly reports and let's see, we wrote in Instagram. Sue, you want to give us a quick?
Yeah, we have discussed trying to do an Instagram. We do Facebook, but Catherine has pointed out that nobody under 40 basically uses Facebook. And that maybe she said 50, I'm not sure. But
No, she was right at 40.
okay. And that really, if we want to try to hit the younger audience where I think we're going to have more of an impact, we really need to be on Instagram. So we would like to create an Instagram account and publish similar things as what we're publishing on Facebook. And
Okay.
maybe more stuff, maybe more of the stuff that we're talking about that people aren't finding.
Any committee members have questions or concerns in that regard? Any discussion? No one? Okay. Then can I have a motion to,
Also move.
okay, Jack? And second,
I'll second it.
that we will put forth to the township board the request that communications will develop an Instagram account. And then we will get back to you after they've had a chance to act on it. All right. Septic support. Ed came to my rescue, as well as did Don and a couple others, when I was trying to, Jim, I think you did too, have been prepared for questions about why do we need a septic ordinance. And Catherine gathered up these various chat GPT, AI generated responses to that arena of questioning and compiled what we have now. And Jim was the one that then utilized this when presenting to the Planning Commission, correct, Jim? Okay. And so members, committee members, you should have a document that says items to consider when evaluating the need for a new septic ordinance. And if you've had a chance to review that, any questions? None? All right. And we don't need to vote on that, do we, Jim?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
I do have one little comment. Anywhere in all of that, I would prefer not to see something that says due to pending issues. Okay. We're having issues, so therefore we need a septic ordinance. Okay, I don't want to see that unless we have the backing data public that says this is an imminent problem. You know, here we can make these general statements very easily. But unless we have that data to go along with a statement like that.
Site specific. Need to be fixed or whatever.
Can't hear.
Oh, Jim's.
Jim microphone.
Okay,
No,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Did you have any specific?
No, I'm just saying I mean, if anywhere within any of these statements that we're trying to make to explain why, don't go out and say, because we know we're polluting the lake. Okay. Common sense, maybe that's the case, but unless we've already gone through, unless we've gone through and proven and published those data, I don't want to say this is one of the reasons why we need a
Right.
septic ordinance.
Unless it's a
What-
proven problem.
What would such proof be, Don?
I'm sorry,
I guess
what?
that's the question. What would such proof be? What would you need to be able to make that statement? I guess is my question.
Previous studies.
Well, we've got all the previous studies, and none of those are going to prove. There's nothing that's going to prove that. So I guess that's my question: is what do we need to make such a statement?
We need the science committee to come up with a conclusion. I agree with Jim.
No, I'm just asking what
No,
the proof is, and if that's.
I understand. I guess I don't know what the proof is. I just don't.
Depends on the situation you're talking about.
Right.
Different every time.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I can see that.
You know, if we're saying that, you know, the leaking septic systems are poisoning our drinking water, you know, our drinking wells, then we sure better be able to have the data that backs that.
Yeah,
I
add a
think right
site
now
study.
we are,
You want to cite studies for sure.
well, yeah,
Makes
exactly.
sense.
I think right now we're actively in the process of starting to think about that kind of information
And that's
how,
fine.
you know,
But
and I think we're pretty careful not to make those claims, but I can see where it could certainly get blurted out there and, you know, and
yeah,
inadvertently.
this is just an asterisk on
Yep.
our statement here.
Sure.
You know, this is, if somebody asks the question, why do we need it? This is what we're going to present to them.
Hmm.
And I don't want this to say, we know we're doing something. We know we already have this problem. Well, how do we know that?
Right.
Okay.
Back it up.
Exactly. Without
Okay.
backing it up. If we do know it and we do have the data and it's been published, then go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I agree. But I believe we are just in the very earliest stages of starting to, you know, figure it out, you know, what those issues
And
are.
I
So
understand that's fine. Okay.
So, go ahead.
Can I digress back a long ways at the beginning here when we were doing the committee reports? And I had a question, I just found it. Referring says I sent for a FOIA request. That may or may not have valid testing results. I'm not encouraged by what we expect.
what's that going to find? Yeah. This was a request there. One of the things we would love to have would be water well testing of every property around the lake. That would be incredible. That would go toward Don's question, or likely. So we said, let's find out what's out there from the health department. And as it turns out, I just asked the question without FOIAing it to start with, you know, what kind of information is out there on nitrates and nitrites and the water testing? And it was not a real encouraging answer. They don't have an awful lot of information. And we talked about it some more. I says, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to FOIA it so that we can actually get our hands on it, see what it is, and we can get it into our database and then go from there. And so I did, and I got that information back day before yesterday as far as that goes back, and it needs some formatting and, you know, in order before we can get it. Oh God, no, 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 no. They were very, very cooperative. They were more than happy to, to get it to us. It's just that they don't have a lot. I think, it was, 183 records out of 3,000, so it doesn't go very far to telling a big story, but we're gonna at least get what we've got into the database and, tie it to the record, to the property IDs we got.
Good question.
Question from Becky.
Good question. Okay. Now, as far as going back to the document that kind of summarized the various needs, the reasons for a septic ordinance, if all of our members could take like the document that I did give you and pick that apart, and I will send the other ones that were generated to you if I hadn't already to kind of explore and see if we are, missing the mark with having the information you're wanting to back it up. So how does that sound? Okay, all right. Any other discussion in regard to the support for the septic ordinance document? Question up online, Catherine?
It's Catherine. Hi. I just to Don's point, was that just a general statement or was there something in particular in the document, which I don't know if you got a chance to read, but
It was just,
there something in particular that you were concerned about that I just wanted to make sure that changed it?
nothing specific.
Okay.
It was more
Sure.
a concern. Yeah, just a warning.
Okay. Yeah.
As we progress with other documents, this document,
We
other-
will, yeah, I mean, if we decided that, if we come up with a definitive report, then we can make a statement based on that report.
Okay.
Or we can modify whatever statements we're making based on the conclusions we're coming to.
Very good. All right, we'll keep that in mind. At, what meeting was it? Dr. Luton expressed if you're asking the public to basically embrace a restriction, they are not going to be very pleased unless there is a identified problem. So a legitimate identified problem. I could appreciate what he was saying. All right. Any other comments online? Then May 19th is the next steering committee meeting after we disperse. If you would stick around for just a minute so that we can talk about the next meeting, it would be great. And then joint meeting for steering and subcommittee chairpersons was slated for June 8th. Is that still good for subcommittees?
What date is that?
June 8th. That would just involve me, Jack.
Oh, okay.
I thought we had said the 9th, but okay.
Yep.
What time?
One moment. I had June 8th, 1 p.m.-ish, but that's up for discussion.
Afternoon is better for me always, at least until I retire, which I'm not retired by then yet.
June 8 is a Monday, June 9 is a Tuesday, and we would collide with septic.
Town meetings on the second and fourth Tuesdays.
June 8th works for me.
June 8th, I'll figure it out. I always do.
1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Subcommittees, I would prefer a 4 o'clock.
That works. 4 o'clock works way better for me. at least until I retire.
Going.
Thank-
Okay, online, somebody? Oh, go
Catherine,
ahead.
it's Catherine. I said 4 o'clock is better for me also,
S-
if possible.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Catherine,
Catherine? Okay, your voice is so slight. Okay, you said
sorry.
8, 4 o'clock, okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Some of the same people will, well, at least a couple of people will be at the septic and then.
sure.
What time are yours, Jim?
1,
1 o'clock?
okay. Brad, 8 or 9? Don't care. Jim? Okay. Ed?
The 8th at 4 o'clock works
Or
fine.
not, would not, on the 9th work as well?
Either, if we're doing it at 4 o'clock, both work.
Okay. Catherine?
Yes, that works
Okay.
for me too.
Either
Either.
day. Sue? Maybe Sue's jumped off. Is she there? Sue?
She's muted.
All right. I'm sorry, I was muted. Both work for me.
Okay,
Either-
thank you. We'll then go ahead and move it to the 9th if you want, and that way then, Jim, you don't have to show up twice in a week.
That's just you, Jim?
Pardon?
That's just you?
Just me. All right. Anything else?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
moving on to something else.
Going down to announcements and new and member.
So I just want to jump back to the plan that we're going to be working on. I was wondering, Sue, if you're on there, if you for the plan that we're going to be working on, the list of names that we're trying to track down, if you guys have a contact list or a mailing list that would show a lot of those folks for a lot of the organizations we're looking for.
Yes, as far as the government officials or,
Yes.
all right.
Government officials or organizations.
This whole cast of thousands here.
Yeah, there's 55. It's on the watershed plan. That steering committee had 55 names on it. I was wondering if you had any of those similar names now.
I do not. I have a list of the government officials that we're going to try to reach out to.
That's it. Okay.
And I have access to that list so I can look them up.
Okay. Thank you.
I would really hit up the foundation because that's where you're going to get your best information on all of that is my thought anyhow.
And you've already reached out to Nancy, correct?
I have, last time I spoke with her, she was going to track down a copy of the document herself.
Okay. Any other announcements or member comments? Right. Then I'd entertain motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Julie? Aye. All right. At 5:49.
Yep, I got that.
All right. Also a couple announcements. Eagle Water Conference is May 20th to the 21st up in Traverse City. And there's a compliance conference on June 9th and 10th in Lansing. Don't forget, we have brochures via the communications team. And any association contacts that you might have, residential association contact information, if you could get with Sue and or Marty. And Sue, did you have an open house date?
Not off the top of my head. It's early August, the same day as the fire department open house.
Okay, Jim's
The eighth.
here, he says the 8th.
Okay,
So
there you go. It's August 8th.
Anything else, anybody? All right.
August 8th.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.